Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will explore the depths of the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, published in 1942, is a satirical and theological masterpiece presented as a series of letters. It chronicles the advice of Screwtape, a senior demon, to his nephew Wormwood, a novice tempter. The letters offer a profound exploration of Christian faith, human frailty, and spiritual warfare, all delivered with biting wit and keen insight. Plot summary. In the dim halls of hell, a seasoned tempter named Screwtape takes up his pen to guide his nephew, Wormwood, in the fine art of soul corruption. The subject of their efforts, known only as the patient, is a young man living in England during the tumultuous era of World War II. The patient, having recently embraced Christianity, is a promising target for Wormwood's schemes. Screwtape's letters, filled with cunning advice and sharp rebukes, chart Wormwood's clumsy attempts to derail the patient's spiritual journey. Screwtape begins by urging Wormwood to keep the patient focused on the mundane. Distract him with trivialities and daily irritations, Screwtape advises, for these can be more effective than grand temptations. Faith, when reduced to habit or ritual, loses its transformative power. Wormwood is warned not to rely too heavily on logic or argument, as these might awaken the patient's reason, which could lead him toward truth and, consequently, toward the enemy, God. The patient's conversion is an unwelcome development in hell, but Screwtape is quick to remind Wormwood that all is not lost. A newfound faith can often give way to spiritual pride, religious zealotry, or hypocrisy, fertile grounds for temptation. The patient's relationships become key battlegrounds. His interactions with his overbearing mother are exploited to foster resentment and self-righteousness. Screwtape emphasizes the subtle art of temptation, encouraging the patient to pray for his mother's sins in a manner that reinforces his own sense of superiority while neglecting his flaws. As time passes, Wormwood reports the patient's growing faith. Screwtape suggests a strategy of distraction. By encouraging the patient to focus on the flaws of other Christians or the imperfections of his church, Wormwood might foster disillusionment. Spiritual growth often involves peaks and troughs, and Screwtape seizes on this natural law of undulation, instructing Wormwood to exploit the patient's spiritual dryness. The goal is to make him believe that his feelings of spiritual fervor should last forever, and that their absence signifies failure. This despair could lead the patient to abandon his faith altogether. The patient soon forms new friendships with a worldly, skeptical couple. These relationships, Screwtape notes with approval, are fraught with potential for moral compromise. Through their influence, the patient begins to adopt cynical attitudes, laugh at virtues he once valued, and excuse small lapses in his behavior. Screwtape advises Wormwood to encourage this duplicity, for humans who live divided lives often slip further from truth. The patient's newfound social circle becomes a tool for creating internal conflict, a steady erosion of integrity. Wormwood's efforts, however, are not without resistance. The enemy is ever vigilant, extending moments of grace and clarity to the patient. Screwtape despises these interventions, particularly when the patient begins to find solace in simple pleasures. A quiet walk in nature or a book genuinely enjoyed for its own sake can rekindle a sense of connection to the divine. Screwtape reprimands Wormwood for allowing such moments to occur, as they threaten to peel away the numbing layers of distraction and temptation. The war looms large in the patient's life, a backdrop of fear and uncertainty that Screwtape sees as ripe for manipulation. Screwtape encourages Wormwood to steer the patient's thoughts toward either paralyzing anxiety about the future or self-satisfied complacency. The goal is to keep him from living fully in the present, the point at which humans are most receptive to divine grace. Wormwood is reminded that neither fear nor peace is inherently useful to hell's cause. Their value lies in whether they lead the patient closer to or further from the enemy. As Wormwood continues his efforts, the patient unexpectedly falls in love. Screwtape is enraged by the development, for the woman is virtuous and devout. Her influence on the patient strengthens his faith, and their love is marked by purity and joy, elements that are abhorrent to the demons. Screwtape rails against the enemy's baffling design of human relationships, which he uses to reflect his own nature, a unity of love and sacrifice. The patient's growing happiness and spiritual resilience become significant obstacles. Desperation sets in for Wormwood as the patient begins to embrace humility and reliance on grace. Screwtape devises subtler tactics, suggesting that Wormwood tempt the patient into pride over his humility or foster feelings of superiority in his relationship. But these efforts falter as the patient grows in self-awareness and dependence on the enemy. The patient's prayers become more sincere, his actions more aligned with his beliefs. Even the war, with its terrors and trials, draws him closer to God as he faces his mortality with newfound courage. In the final letter, Screwtape writes with venomous fury, for Wormwood has failed. The patient dies suddenly in an air raid, a moment Screwtape describes with disdain as a triumphant rescue by the enemy. At the instant of death, the patient is welcomed into the light of heaven, a reality that Screwtape finds incomprehensible and loathsome. Wormwood is left to face the consequences of his failure, for in hell there is no room for mercy or forgiveness. Screwtape hints at Wormwood's fate, a grim reminder of the unrelenting cruelty of their kind. The tale concludes with a chilling reminder of the stakes at play in the spiritual realm. Through Screwtape's sardonic lens, the nature of human struggle is laid bare. The seemingly ordinary moments of life are revealed as arenas of profound spiritual significance, where choices shape eternal destinies. This was just one story. C.S. Lewis has plenty more for you to discover. Check them out in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in C.S. Lewis's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.